Mrs. Danielson.
Here.
Mr. Massey. Here. Mrs. Purcell.
Present.
And Ms. Shank.
Here.
We have one.
Okay, thank you. Will you all rise for the pledge of allegiance?
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have two presentations this evening. And the first is our audit presentation by Ed Meeting Dec. And Lee.
Good to see everyone here. Thank you for having me, and there should be a 2-page of.
Want to sit here?
No,
You want to sit here a little easier for you? Your neighbors?
it's your preference.
Sit up in here. Sit over here if you want.
Hello?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, so as I was trying to say before, you should have a 2-page summary, it's front and back. I'm gonna go over financial highlights first, and if at any moment you have any questions, please feel free to stop me. So I already met with your finance committee and financial administration last week to review the results of the audit and financial highlights in detail. So on first page of so there's a little number 1 on the bottom of the page in case you need to decipher. Sorry about the tiny typo. On the top of the first page is a overall comparison of your fund balance. So at 6/30/22, your overall fund balance is $19,297,000, which is a drop of almost $2 million from the previous year. Most of that, your overall fund balance is restricted in various reserves. You have $1,678,000 in encumbrances, which are goods you've ordered as of 6/30 but haven't received it as of that date. $3.4 million in capital reserve that you can use for projects in your long-range facilities plan. $2,241,000 in maintenance reserve that you can use for required maintenance. $216,000 in emergency reserve that you can use for health benefits increase over in excess of 4% or security upgrades. $580,000 in unemployment compensation that you can use for unemployment claims. 3.4, in current year excess surplus, which you have to use in your 23-24 budget year. The prior year excess surplus of the 3.4 is being used right now in your 22-23 budget. So that leaves you with $4,367,000 of unassigned fund balance, which is at the 4%. Just want to remind everybody that last year the state had passed a legislation to increase the unassigned fund balance from 2 to 4% temporarily for 2 years. So at the end of this year, your 6/30/23 year end is going to go back to 2%. Now the middle section is the analysis of what makes up the $2 million decrease in overall fund balance. $672,000 in excess in local revenue. $1.2 million excess in state revenue, that's mainly your extraordinary aid. You have $4 million unexpended budget appropriation after you factor out the encumbrances of $1.7 million. You're left with $2,355,000, which is only about 3% of the budget. So it's a little, on the low side. You utilize $3,004,000 in fund balance. The $1,228,000 of prior year encumbrances that were liquidated, and you took out from maintenance reserve $318,000 for required maintenance projects, and about approximately $3 million in your capital reserve between the budget and through board resolution for various capital projects. And that's mostly what makes up the $2 million. On the bottom is an analysis of the fund balance you've been using or is gonna be using in your budget. So, we always like to see a steady trend of how much fund balance, you're using, so it's closely been about $3.4 million. So the question would be whether you can regenerate that $3.4 million every year. As you know, there's reduction in state aid, and the extraordinary aid for the past couple of years has been higher than what it has been historically at 90%, versus historically it's been at like about 40%. So you kind of, factor all of that in. Now, the next page, if you flip to the back, is a recap of the activities in the capital maintenance and emergency reserve. And as I mentioned before, you took out $318,000 for maintenance reserve, was able to put in $400. Emergency reserve balance remained the same, and capital reserve, you took out $3 million. And I also put in what you budgeted in 22-23. So as of now, you have about $1.6 million in capital reserve. So the next section is the activities in your enterprise funds. I have a recap of the food service and community school, and the revenue, expenses, and the net change. And at the end of the year, food service, its net position is $1,353,000, but that's including $550,000 in capital assets. So after you factor that out, you have about $800,000 in unrestricted net position or fund balance. In community school, you ended up the year with $167,000 in unrestricted net position, and that was a net increase of about $18,000. And the very last section is an analysis of your long-term liabilities, and for budgeting purpose, you really just focus on the $6,540,000 in serial bonds, which the last payment on your 2010 refunding bond has been made already, which is $550,000. So the remaining balance is related to your ESIP. All right, that's it in terms of financial highlights. Any questions? Okay, so I just want to go over the findings and recommendation really briefly. So the only finding and recommendation this year is related to extraordinary aid, which is the same finding as last year, so it's a repeat. It relates to certain costs that was estimated, that was, when you look at the actual expenditure, there was a significant discrepancy. And then also there are certain costs, related services costs that could have been reported, and that, in the future, just making sure that, don't leave any money on the table, so to speak. Every dollar that you can claim from the state, you should claim it. And the prior recommendations in terms of the meal count records, ASSA, and fixed assets have been resolved last year. So just want to give kudos to your financial administration for doing a wonderful job, as always. That's my report. If anybody has any questions, please feel free.
Do any board members have any questions? Anybody in the public have any questions? Okay, well, thank you very much.
Well, thank you for letting me sit down.
Thank you, Joe, for clearing up those prior notes. Okay, second presentation is the Sports Medicine Academy. Mr. Mason?
come on now. We're really happy to be here. I'm very important with it. If you're going to follow a presentation, follow an audit presentation. Is a good way to do it. My name is Stuart Mason. I'm Director of Athletics and Student Activities and Supervisor of Health and Physical Education for Roxbury High School. And we're here today to talk about our Sports Medicine Academy. It's really exciting to talk about this today because this is a program, we have our seniors now who have gone through the entire program and are finishing up their senior year, so we have some of them to talk to you. And it's really neat to see the program evolve and to see how successful it is for our students. Before I start, I'm just going to introduce the team here because these are some important people. Mr. Koch, who is one of our athletic trainers, Mr. Forlenza, another one of our athletic trainers, and from our program we have Brian, Izzy, Sarah, and Ashka here from our program to speak today. So they're current students in our program. So as I said, this is really exciting to talk about our program because all the hard work and planning and preparation and everything that was put into action, we're actually getting to see unfold now with our students. So as I said, this program began well over 5 years ago, and the timing was really perfect. We had a new superintendent in Dr. Ralick who was really promoting and pushing us to create programs for our students in a changing world and a changing workplace. So we had her support. She helped to advocate for the program and create a partnership with the Morris County School of Technology. And it is a revenue program. It brings in revenue for Roxbury High School, which helped us get another need, which was a second athletic trainer, which we had a need for. But with our student population not growing, it was difficult to find the funding. So the Sports Medicine Academy helped us bring on, and I'll talk about our second athletic trainer, Mr. Forlenza, bring him on as well. We also have a phenomenal special ed program and on-site therapists that we wanted to take advantage of. And there was really student interest. There was a survey that went out to all of 8th graders and asked what they wanted to be when they grew up. And shockingly, if you had asked me in 8th grade, I probably would have said, a baseball all-star or a rock star. But those weren't the top 3 choices. I think rock star was number 4. But number 1 was school nurse, or not school nurse, was nurse, which was pretty neat to see. And number 2 was sports medicine, athletic training, physical therapy, orthopedic, which is the number 2 choice for students in 8th grade. So there was interest there. There was a lot of interest in our own students because Joe Koch, who had been at Roxbury High School for how long at that point? 18 years? Yep. Had just won the National Athletic Trainer of the Year, which is really an impressive award. We were excited when he won the State Trainer of the Year. We knew he deserved it. He got recommendations from parents, students, other people in the medical field, doctors. So when he won the State Athletic Trainer of the Year, we were excited, but he deserved it, and we weren't overly surprised, but we knew he was good. Then he won the Regional State Athletic Trainer of the Year, and then the National Athletic Trainer of the Year. So we knew he was outstanding, he got the recognition he deserved for it. And the thing about Mr. Koch, or as we call him Joe, is he doesn't just treat injuries, he educates. He helps prevent injuries, he works with our athletes very closely, in making them understand what's not working, how to try it. He has everyone's respect. So we knew that we had an interest in our own students, in our own high school, in our own students. We had a very rigorous athletic program when you looked at, academic program when you looked at our sciences that could also help support us and support this. And some of our strengths at Roxbury High School are our science programs. And of course, as the athletic director, I like to say we have a culture and reputation of high expectations in our athletic programs. It's probably not really fair because I think that Roxbury really understands educating the whole child, and all of our extracurricular programs are outstanding. Our music and arts, robotics to our service learning programs are really phenomenal. So we had everything in place, the timing was right. We had the support of the superintendent to help put this in place. So we formed a partnership with the Morris County School of Technology to create the Sports Medicine Academy. So we had to create it, but I guess before I get ahead of myself, we had to make sure that we were preparing students for jobs that would be out there. We didn't want them to finish up this program and then not having positions. You kind of read about that sometimes, where people will finish programs and degrees and then their jobs aren't out there. So when we did our research, this is a very growing field. Part of that is due to the growing popularity of athletics, and some of the negative pieces might be with people selecting individual sports at a younger age, but also our seniors are living longer, so there's a need in that area as well. So physical therapist is actually one of the larger growing professions there are out there. 36%. Athletic trainers is growing. Overall healthcare. So there was occupations. It's a growing field, and there's going to be a need in this area. We were able to form a partnership for dual accreditation with Seton Hall University. So another thing that was really exciting for us is when our students take courses, they have the opportunity for a much reduced cost, $300 a class, $300 a course, to receive college credits from Seton Hall University. One of the reasons we were able to do this is Joe Koch is on the board at Seton Hall University and helped us form that partnership. Corey Forlenza is a Seton Hall graduate, so we have a strong bond with Seton Hall University, and we're excited to offer up to 23 college credits that you take at Roxbury High School while you're a high school student that you can receive for when you graduate. You can take advantage of that when you graduate to have college credits already in the bank. It also gave us an exciting opportunity through some of the funding that we received through tuition to create a modern sports medicine lab. And you see, this is Mr. Forlenza. He's responsible for the instructional part of the academy. Mr. Koch is the clinical piece, and he'll talk about the on-hands and work experiences that our students have. Mr. Forlenza is the teacher for the class. And I talked about Mr. Koch being the National Athletic Trainer of the Year, but Mr. Forlenza is also a rare bird in himself in that he has his master's degree in athletic training and also is certified to teach. So oftentimes, athletic trainers will go one direction. There's lots, as we mentioned, there's lots of positions out there for them, but to find someone who wants to be in the classroom and give back is pretty cool. And we're really fortunate to have Mr. Forlenza in the classroom part, and I'm going to let him talk about a little bit about that.
Good. So here is our course progression. We start off with foundational components of sports medicine, then pathology and prevention of sports injuries, then on to kinesiology and orthopedic assessment, and then injury rehabilitation management and the surgical intervention. So in the foundational components course is more of an introduction into the different professions under the sports medicine umbrella. Some of the topics that we hit are different careers, medical terminology, healthcare administration, legal considerations, emergency care, nutrition, fitness and conditioning, and also environmental, which is related to sports medicine. Here we have some of our students working with SAM splints, which is a tool that's used to mobilize fractures or possible fractures for students, for patients and all to get further injury. Next we have pathology and prevention. This is really for the nitty-gritty of the science, which is something that was noticed that graduate students in the Seton Hall program are lacking. We get into more of the characteristics of soft tissue and bony tissue response to injury, evaluation, imaging, adaptation of sports injuries, psychosocial and issues, anatomy of the lower extremity, and also taping, bandaging, and grafting techniques. Here we have the students practicing blood pressure, which goes into the evaluation currently working on. Next we have kinesiology and orthopedic assessment. Here we get into more of the movement and how the body actually responds to different movements and exercise and sport, and how those forces are absorbed and utilized by the body. We also get into anatomy of the upper extremity, spine, abdomen, and head, general medical condition, movement postures, and then adaptive physical education modalities. Here we have a student actually when we went to a field trip to Seton Hall last year. He actually, I know he's standing all funny, he actually has motion sensors on him. So there's actually a screen right to his left where you can actually take a look at all the data that they're collecting on it. We had him do where those while they're on a treadmill. It really was a very cool experience for the kids to see. Then finally we have surgical intervention and return to play. Here we actually take a look, each of the students are taking a look at a different surgical case where they're going to go into the anatomy of the injury, the mechanism, and then take us through the surgical process and the rehabilitation and the return to play process. So really from onset of injury all the way through the return to play. We also hit on exercise physiology, pharmacology, and once again, we go into a few more general medical teachings. Now, yeah, here we have a student putting on knee immobilizer, then that's actually an MRI.
So, our students, Mr. Florenza just mentioned the senior year option that they have, but they actually have, when they're seniors, have 3 choices to make as part of the academy. The one option is to remain a Roxbury student, take Mr. Florenza's class with the option for Seton Hall University credits, and go about a typical day in Roxbury High School as a senior. There's a lot to offer. Another option is they have the option in the academy to take their entire year at County College of Moore for college credit. So for all intents and purposes, they take classes as if they're a college student for the year. They still participate in everything we do at Roxbury High School, in athletics, in our school dances, in our clubs, in everything we do at Roxbury, but their classes are at the County College of Moore's. And the third option is they could do a hybrid. They could take some of their classes at County College of Morris and some at the high school. This is where we want Brian to talk about his experience a little bit. So Brian is a senior, and he opted to take his entire year this year at the County College of Morris. You want to talk a little bit about your, it's so cool to see him up here, because I was part of the interview process when he was in 8th grade. To see him now as a senior, talking about this experience is pretty cool. You want to talk a little bit about what it's been like to be a senior here in your current status?
Yeah, so one of the huge benefits about CCM is being able to create your own schedule. I mean, obviously you can take all morning classes, you can take night classes, you can make it whatever you want to fit your personal schedule. Obviously in the senior year, there's a lot of stuff going on with college applications and things of that sort. But also I'm gaining college experience and getting college credit, and it's free. It's at a great college like CCM. I mean, it's a well-known County College, and it's transferable to almost all schools in New Jersey, and a bunch of the colleges that I've already applied to, and I said that they're going to take the credit. So it's just a really great experience, and I'm just getting a lot of experience. I'll be way ahead of the game out of college freshman year, so this is a really good opportunity.
So, and Izzy is taking her classes. She went the route of taking all her classes at Roxbury High School. You want to talk about your experience?
Well, our senior class is pretty small, since I think, maybe like 5 students left, so it's like, probably 7 of us. So, we do a bunch of hands-on activities, like, the other day, we measured our counter movement jump, so we were on, like, platforms, and we jumped 3 times without extending our arms, and we measured the explosiveness of our lower body. And we're also doing a research paper about surgical injuries, and I'm in an internship where I observed Dr. Montgomery, who's a well-known surgeon, and Dr. Ginsberg, who's like a doctor. Yeah. And one of the coolest cases I've seen was bicep reconstruction. They took the flexor brachialis and the humerus longus, the forearm muscles, and they built a bicep out of it because the bicep was lost in its body and they couldn't find it, so they built a new one.
So those of you who don't know, Dr. Montgomery is the head orthopedic surgeon for the New York Jets. So we're not just seeing, local docs are great also, but she's getting that observation with the best of the best.
So she kind of jumped ahead a little bit to the clinical piece, which is great. And that's a tri-county orthopedic. And Mr. Cox is going to talk about the clinical experience all of our students get through the sports medicine academy.
Sure. So a couple things. So in addition to my being on the Seton Hall board, their advisory board for the graduate athletic training program, I'm also a preceptor, so their graduate students actually come to Roxbury High School and they participate with our students. And we have an agreement, and I was able to take that model and transfer it to our model at the high school level. So realistically, and with the sports medicine club that I've done for 25 years, we've done that same model where students can actually get a chance to observe and get hands-on experience throughout their all 4 years. And actually, VOTEC was quite impressed with the fact that most VOTEC programs, they get a structured learning experience their senior year. Our students are getting hands-on experience all 4 occupational therapists, they're both physical therapists. So they really get a chance, one of the things they liked the best was observing their adaptive physical education class. So it really gives them that broad experience to figure out what they want to do, and they go out and they want to do something in the healthcare situation. So, so really, in the other aspect, when they're with us, there's some goals we want them to achieve. So we want them to learn how to be professional. We want them to learn how to communicate without text messaging and emailing, speak face to face, right? Like they're doing now, and they're so nervous about doing it. They get 24 hours freshman and sophomore year, 30 hours junior year, and then there's that 120 hours that senior year that they have to do through vote down. Really was great, and if you can see here, what they're doing, that left picture, they're doing some splinting. The right picture, we're practicing some CPR skills. But again, they learn how to conduct an evaluation. How do they create a plan of care for an injured athlete, whether it's an emergency situation or a clinical situation where somebody either walks in with an injury and we do that assessment versus and Ashka and Sarah will hear they're talking about being on the sidelines for us at the football game. So when someone's screaming on the sideline, how do we handle that? And how do they handle that emergency? And some students don't like that emergency, and that's why we want them to be here to see, okay, do I like the emergency stuff? Do I not like the emergency stuff? Can I handle blood? Can I not handle blood? That's kind of the situation. The picture on the right there, they're doing a functional movement screen, so we learn how people move and how they try to prevent injuries. So we can kind of look for systems. We run through a functional movement screen to determine if they have issues that we can correct. And we use these systems for our athletes. So we run functional movement screens for our basketball team, for our soccer team, for our football team to try to make them better and prevent injuries. We actually incorporated some of those techniques into our physical education program to improve just the general population. The other benefit to it is our older senior students get to mentor the younger students. And we have students, again, they all come in, you know, if you have teenagers, they kind of hide in the corner. At least my kids do. But these kids are great. They have to approach athletes when they come in. They have to speak to them. They have to take a history, what happened, how do you feel. And there's freshmen working with seniors, seniors working with sophomores. So it's really a great kind of community environment where the older students who've got that experience can make the younger students feel more comfortable. And let them learn in that environment so they're not so embarrassed. And we challenge them. I tell them all the time, I don't necessarily care so much if you get the answer right, but I want you to think about the process and figure it out and learn that process as opposed to, okay, I don't want them to be afraid of going to be wrong, going to be wrong. I want them to get that educational experience and that clinical experience. So, as we mentioned, that senior year through VOTEC, they do have to do 120 hours of structured learning experience. And again, these are some of the locations that they're going to. So they're going to orthopedic physicians, they're going to physical therapy clinics, they're going to sports performance clinics, any places that kind of will do what we teach. And what's interesting about that is, and again, my son was looking into the VOTEC program, and as an 8th grader, you have to kind of figure out what you want to do for the rest of your life. So we tried to make that as much as possible to include athletic training, physical therapy, occupational therapy, as much as we can within our scope of practice, so the students can figure out whether this is what they want to do or not. So same thing with our structural learning. We want them to be able to get out and say, okay, this is what it's like to be an orthopedic surgeon, this is what it's like to be in a physical therapy clinic or a performance clinic. And then what can I make out of that? What kind of job opportunities can I have from that? So that's realistically, or really what our goals are, to just expose them to the students so they can figure out what they want to do, if they want to go into that healthcare career. As far as our cohorts go, so 13 students currently are senior year. This is a group of 13 of them. 16 juniors, 15 sophomores, 15 freshmen, and we're expecting a full cohort for that incoming class. We have about 25% of those students are Roxbury students. The other 75% are from out of district. We've done some great with our freshman class this year. The seniors were a little bit upset because we took our freshman incoming class this year bowling, and we didn't do that with the other classes, so we had to add that in as an activity. We had to get people here. We did some group bonding with the students to really kind of provide that Roxbury feel for us as much as possible. So far it's been awesome.
It's been fantastic. It's worth mentioning. So this is through a partnership with Morris County School of Technology. They select the students. We are part of the interview process, but ultimately we apply to the Morris County School of Technology, and they select the students. Which I like as an athletic director because people can say we're selecting students because we're taking the best athletes, or we need for whatever reason. They're taking there's an interview process, there's an academic piece, there's a test piece, all part of the process that Morris County School electrical technology students. We've been really impressed with our students as they come to our program.
Sarah and Oscar, do you want to talk a little bit about football?
So this year we had the opportunity to work with the football team, and actually the picture up there was the drill, which is that was me on the football field, and it kind of gives like a really hands-on experience to see how to work with teams and what they do in the field and how dangerous it can be sometimes. It was really fun, but it was also a very serious situation. Seeing some people have to get sent on ambulances, and you get to learn how to work with that. But I have a drill at all times because we have to be ready for head injuries and having to take the helmets off. And it was just a really hands-on experience. We worked with like cramps, so someone would like yell, you have to run and get the ice, and it was kind of very structured, but like you have to be on your toes. It was a great experience.
Yeah, like what Sarah said, I think that like running football games with athletic trainers and our teachers was a really good experience for those who wanted like a more like moment kind of action kind of idea, because in the athletic training room we get like the physical therapy idea, and then this one gave us like an avenue for like a more like ongoing like within the room experience, so it gave us like the best of both worlds.
The drill is more of a screwdriver. We try to keep the helmet as low as possible. That's all. We're not using that drill.
Again, thank you. We appreciate the support of the Board of Education and Administration. We're really proud of the program. Excited to see what our seniors do as they graduate and our upcoming students as well. Thank you.
Actually, I would like to say something, and I'd like to thank Mr. Mason and Mr. Koch for starting this program. This is an incredible opportunity for the students, and this is near and dear to my heart, because you may know my nephew, who Mr. Mason and Mr. Koch, you were his inspiration. And he graduated in 2009, and you were the sports medicine club. And he had thought about being an engineer, and that really persuaded him. He was so excited about athletic training, and he went to Rowan, graduated here 2009, went to Rowan for his undergraduate, went to Indiana State for his graduate. He's doing very, very well. He's the Joe Koch of Unionville.
Oh, great.
Yeah, and I know you've seen him at some seminars and stuff. But he is so excited, and you have such exciting times ahead of you, because he went to Rowan, but he got to intern for the New York Jets one summer, and for the New York Yankees and their farm team, he got to ice Andy Pettit's elbow. So, and he's just had such a wonderful career. He absolutely loves what he's doing. And I appreciate the medical knowledge that you have to have, because if I sprain an ankle or something, I call my nephew before I call the doctor, and he can tell me. But I want to especially thank the two of you, because you really were inspirational, and it's a wonderful program. So thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you. Very good to hear.
I don't know if our student council has left. Okay. Okay, well then, we'll come up to my comments, I guess. Okay, this is the last meeting of the year. Well, wait until.
If they're walking out, I'm gonna say real quick, thank you so much, Mr. Mason. Thank you, children, for coming in and sharing. One of the things I loved about what the students said about the program is all of the experiences that you were able to have. And I could tell from each one of you, you were excited about the experiences that you were gonna have. So when Mrs. Shuddock says that, this is something that's just gonna get better and more exciting for you, there's no question. You guys know your paths, and we've given you that leg up, and I can see you already taking it to the next level. So congratulations, thank you so much for sharing with us, and for being so articulate in, sharing your passion, so thank you. And gentlemen, Mr. Florenza, Mr. Koch, thank you so much for leading a program that really gives an opportunity You know, Mr. Mason, thank you for commenting about the support of the administration and the board. That is one thing that I'm incredibly proud of this district. I do feel we are a progressive district. I do feel that, you know, the vision of preparing the children of today for tomorrow is embedded in our culture, and it is something that we all look for. And I know that you've not only given these children, students here a leg up, but I know that you're doing that every single day when you're working with these kids and giving them this amazing opportunity. So thank you all, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, so moving on, this is the last meeting of the year, and our reorganization is scheduled for Tuesday, January 5th, 2023.
Thursday.
Tuesday.
Thursday.
January 5th is a Thursday?
It
Oh,
is.
Okay, I stand corrected. Okay. I guess it must be. I don't know where I got Tuesday from, okay. Okay, I had, the board service and committee survey, and I was going to send it to you today, but, Dr. Radlick's, secretary is actually, preparing it so that it's gonna be emailed to you probably tomorrow, I'd say, and it can be filled out like online. And then I will send you just something that will explain, the policies that govern, the duties of the president, vice president, chair of a committee, and the functions of committee. So there's 2 policies I'll be sending you out some information on tomorrow as well. So please return the forms, by, I guess, maybe by December 20th. And I'll, you know, I just wanted to remind the board too that we have not completed our board retreat. And although district goals have been set, we need to complete setting board goals. At the last meeting, I've indicated that we've rescheduled the continuation of the board retreat for this coming year. So the newly constituted board could set board goals. We'll also receive ethics training from our attorney, Nathaniel Simon, as well as training from our school board's representative, Charlene Peterson, who has to be present for that training in order for us to receive credit for it as a board. We need this training to maintain our master board status, and we do need 7 out of 10 of the board members to commit to be present at that training in order to receive credit. Charlene and Nathaniel will coordinate and give us some prospective dates, probably in February, because I think January is going to be pretty busy, for that special retreat meeting, and it will be a special meeting that will not appear on our list of the reorganization meeting, I don't think. On behalf of the entire board, I wish to extend our sincere gratitude and best wishes to Dan Massey and Michelle Danielson for their years of service, dedication, and commitment to this school district, to the community, to the students of this district, and to this Board of Education. I've been on the board since 2007, and I have worked with many excellent board members over those years. I have to say that Michelle and Dan have been 2 of the most outstanding board members I've ever worked with. They're professional, knowledgeable, extremely dedicated, and have given so much of themselves to this district. They have demonstrated true leadership in the tough 3 years we have just gone through. They have always been involved in this community. They have worked tirelessly to put the needs of all of the children of this district first. They have always carefully looked at all of the factors before making decisions, have complied with their ethical obligations under the law in performing their duties as board members, which includes upholding all laws, rules, and regulations of the State Board of Education and court orders pertaining to schools. They have always asked thoughtful and intelligent questions, never surrendered their independent judgment to special interest or partisan groups, and ultimately made their decisions in terms of the educational welfare of the children of the district, all of which are required by the New Jersey Code of Ethics. They both have been a good, positive voice for education and have always worked collaboratively with their fellow board members, which is so important to have an effective board. They pursued extensive training. They served on many committees, including community relations, finance, facilities, personnel, policies, and education. Their knowledge, experience, hard work, and positive attitude were invaluable to this board, and they both will be greatly missed. And finally, I would like to thank the board members, all of them, all of you, for their professionalism and their dedication and concern for the students of this district, and for putting all of the students in this district first. I'm honored that you entrusted me with the responsibility and challenge to act as president of this board for the past 3 years, in what turned out to be 3 historic and unprecedented years. I enjoyed the challenge, and I could not have done it without the support of the members of this board, who have been amazing. Even though we sometimes have differences of opinion, we truly respect each other and have worked as a team throughout these very challenging years. When I first took office in 2020, just before the pandemic, none of us had ever imagined how much our lives would change, how much education would be impacted, the controversial issues that would arise, the types of decisions that would have to be made. Normally, a board president serves up to 2 or 3 consecutive years, and these truly have been the 3 most challenging and difficult years in education. I enjoyed the challenge. I wanted to see it through and get through the pandemic during my term, and I'm happy that now we are back to a much more normal school year, and we can start focusing on more traditional educational issues once again. And then finally, I'd like to wish everybody a happy holiday and a happy new year. Dr. Radley, your report?
This is Ms. Shennick's last board meeting for the 2020 school year. The next time we come together, we will be doing reorg. So I did also want to begin the evening by just thanking her for her leadership. These were tough 3 years. Never did, in my years of education, I will tell you, Dr. Seif had come to me and Mr. Zigar and said, there's a possibility that schools are going to be closed. And I said, never in a million years will the Department of Education close our schools. And I truly believe that, having gone through Sandy with them and everything else. In education, we believe to be a lifelong learner. Those 3 years really tested that belief, that passion, that dedication to education. And I feel very fortunate that not only did I have a great, teacher group that stuck with us, an amazing administration, but our board was beyond compare. And having Ms. Shennick at the lead was actually a godsend, I have to say. There were a lot of very tough conversations that we had, so much to deal with, and throughout all of it, she really stuck by me, and we remained steadfast to our mission to educate our children to the best of our abilities. So I did want to thank you for all of those years, and I truly appreciate it, and I'm grateful that you will remain with us in the 2023 school year, and we will again keep our board and our mission strong and forward.
Thank you so much.
I'd also like to say congratulations to Michelle Danielson, who has satisfied all of the requirements for boardsmanship certification through the New Jersey School Boards Association and the Board Member Academy. Those requirements include earning a minimum of 10 credits through attendance at Academy sessions, the New Jersey School Board annual workshop, and a variety of county programs. The award recognizes professional development in areas critical to effective board governance. This is, just to be perfectly clear, this is a master board. They have done training above and beyond. And when I talk to some of my colleagues who tell me horror stories that, they have a hard time getting a quorum at their, at their board meeting nights, or the board doesn't seem very interested during committee meetings, we don't have that here in Roxbury. We have a truly dedicated board who truly work together, and even through the tough decision making, they do listen respectfully. And there's a lot of us here, and we do have differing opinions, but we are always respectful. We are always open to listening to each other, and then ultimately coming to a consensus that we feel is the best for the district. So, Michelle just added to our certified board members, and she's not the only one. Who else do we have as certified board members? Yes, yes, yes. So, you know, just to make note that, you know, we have those individuals who go above and beyond. Michelle? Michelle, you are to be commended for your commitment to the Roxbury School District and for dedicating substantial time and effort to improving your skills and knowledge as a board member. So, and I can't top everything that Ms. Shunick said about our two board members, so I just want to say thank you so much for all of your efforts, for the committees that you've served on, for a tremendous amount of time that you've dedicated. You know, we will definitely miss you. We do welcome our new board members. We are a board that we will take people into the fold and you know, work together. Our vision is always crystal clear. We're in it for the children. So, you know, I will share, our outgoing board members have said, we continue on and we still, you know, work together. And, you know, we do look forward to our new board members joining us in January. I'd also like to give a shout out to the 4 elementary schools who participated in their annual Jeans for Vets Day and raised $315 that will be sent to an organization called Pets for Vets. In the past 2 years, the school has raised nearly $800 for this cause. So well done to our elementary school students, and thank you, Mrs. Nancy Patona, for sharing this good news. We also had another successful PJ Day with the Roxbury School community raising $4,732 for the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia. That was well beyond their $2,000 goal, so kudos to all of them. And then lastly, on Tuesday, December 6th, the Gales bowled their first ever varsity bowling match against Morristown at Lockbay Lanes. The 3-match game between the two teams was played in front of a packed house as other schools from the Morris County began their season as well. Tyler Brooks threw the first ever varsity shot for Roxbury and rattled the pins with a strike. Thank you, Mr. Mason, for sharing that. It was fascinating to me. Anchored by a strong performance by Gavin Matz with 185, Roxbury was able to beat Morristown in the first game. And in the second game, the strikes kept coming as Gavin, Tyler, and Eddie Lederer paced Roxbury with scores of 210, 264, and 192 respectively. Just unbelievable. All in all, it was the first ever victory for the Gales as Roxbury earned 5 out of the 7 points. So, you know, I have to just share, like, one of the things that makes this school so special, and this district so special, is the passionate commitment of the people who are involved in the school. And as soon as this was happening, Mr. Mason was sharing the details with me, and you know, you could just hear his excitement. It really was absolutely wonderful. Very, very proud of our bowlers, and as someone who actually bowls, I know throwing a strike isn't easy, so I don't think I've ever even come close to 200. But I did want to say kudos to all of our bowlers, and very proud of them. That's all I have.
Thank you. Business administrators report.
I'm gonna go back a little bit because we have correspondence. I also have to read the lady's report, so just bear with me here. So the board has been invited to an Eagle Court of Honor ceremony for 2 of our students. It's January 14th, 2023, 2 p.m. at the Redeemer Lutheran Church. They are students Matthew T. Mineo and Alexander P. Doty. So that's the correspondence.
What time is that?
That is January 14th, 2023, 2 p.m. It's the same for both. Now to Delaney's report, bear with me. All right, on 12/9, Interact Holiday Movie Night. I guess Interact Club had its holiday movie night. 12/14, which I guess is Wednesday, is the Strings concert. And 12/16 is the RHS Dance Showcase. December 17th is the choir alumni Messiah singing. And on 12/23, she has early dismissal, okay? And Mikey Fallon came and talked to us at the high school and taught us new ways to think. That's Delaney's report. I don't have a report. The only thing I have is happy holidays, happy new year. So long, Michelle, it was a pleasure. So long, Dan, I know I'll see you again, and I know we're still gonna see Michelle. But really, thank you for everything over the last few years, really appreciate it. That's my report.
Okay, thank you, Joe. Okay, I guess we move on to the minutes. Do I have a motion for the minutes of the regular meeting of November 14th? Michelle? Heather seconded. Okay, any changes, discussion? Okay, roll call.
Mr. Bocchino. Mr. Botero. Mrs. Champagne?
Yes.
Mr. Coakley?
Yes.
Mrs. Colucci?
Abstain?
Mrs. Danielson?
Yes.
Mr. Massey?
Abstain.
Mrs. Purcell?
Yes.
Ms. Shenick?
Yes.
Guys, you make me count tonight, huh?
Sorry.
Yeah, we're good. Passes.
Okay, do you have a motion for the minutes of the executive session of November 14th? Eddie? And Kathy, second? Okay, any discussion? Okay, roll call.
Mr. Bocchino?
Abstain.
Mr. Botero?
Yes.
Mrs. Champagne?
Yes.
Mr. Coakley?
Yes.
Mrs. Colucci?
Abstain?
Mrs. Danielson?
Yes.
Mr. Massey?
Abstain.
Mrs. Purcell?
Yes.
Ms. Shenick?
Yes.
Passes.
Okay. Moving on to committee reports. Do we have a report from Community Relations, Shared Services?
We do, it's a short report. The Community Relations met December 6th. It was just a few attended, there was a lot going on. But, I'm happy to report that the first batch of pavers, I guess that's the best gift I could get getting out of here. The first batch of the grade pavers, were put down earlier, about 2 weeks ago. So if you were in that first batch, you can go and check it out. They're outside by the bell, right outside the administration building. And batches 2 to 4 are currently being engraved. Seems like every time I went to check it out, it was either raining or snow. But yes, they're out there. Also, the RCS Spaces is looking to add more service learning enrichment projects into the location. There were Veterans Day cards that were done, and they're working on holiday cards, for veterans and seniors. Mrs. Colucci, is also looking to check out, opportunities for the students to reach out to some of the senior members in the community to let them, know that they're not forgotten and that we're thinking about them. The next meeting is pending, the reorg, so it's to be determined.
Okay, thank you. Joe, education.
Sure, so we had a unorthodox education meeting, we had a complaint receiving meeting, unfortunately Dr. Syke was ill, so we had a video from Dr. Syke, reported on the committee. So Dr. Syke shared the finalized media center handbook and updated challenge from which has been discussed previously, and includes updated information about the protocols in the media centers, as well as an updated challenge form. Mr. Capovello, Mr. Vaughn, and Mrs. Mann have been working to finalize a dual enrollment agreement with Thomas Edison University, which will allow students competing the SDF program to earn 16 credits, which includes students who have completed the program dated back to 2019. Mr. Vaughn, Dr. Godfrey, and Mr. Rowe have been working to finalize the aviation pathway through their recent participation and presentation at the National AOPA Conference. This pathway will allow students to choose between manned or unmanned flight, or both should their schedule allow. Scroll down real quick. Kwame Alexander spent 3 days in district working with students and staff on November 29th through December 1st. The presentations were captivating and engaging. Students asked incredible questions and engaged with Mr. Alexander on topics including his work as well as his inspirations and writing strategies. Students left seeking access to his books and were inspired to the power of poetry. Teachers enjoyed professional learning with him on day 3, with many asking for more when it was time to leave. And on a personal note, I had neighboring people in my district asking about it as well, so it has been talked about and well received. Our next meeting will be pending the reorganization.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we did not have a facilities meeting.
It was very short. We talked about the gas pumps that were completed, and, the Lincoln Roosevelt Windows Phase 2 is completed. But it was mostly, we got finance with the auditors. And that was December 6th, and our next meeting is pending.
Okay, and I'll report on finance. It was December 6th. And we talked about the audit presentation, and, met with, Ms. Lee. And then we talked about a change order that was, an unexpected change order for a fuel pump for, $9,700. That had, I guess that had not been on a prior, agenda, but is on this one, right?
Yes.
And then, we talked about Roosevelt windows, Lincoln Roosevelt window project, and a roof bid. We talked about the turf field we just had an update on the turf field, and we talked about budget updates, where our business administrator has met with all schools and directors, and we're going to be working on figuring out a schedule for the budget, meetings next year. We'll also be getting our demographic study shortly, which will be very helpful, and that will show us projected, populations and enrollments and so on. And our 3D imaging is almost done. So it was pretty short meeting. And our next meeting is pending, reorganization. Okay, Kathy, personnel?
The Personnel Committee met on December 7th at the Board of Ed Administration office. The personnel resolutions 1 through 22 were discussed as written on pages 12 through 20 on the agenda. And as previously stated by almost everyone here, the committee does not yet have our next scheduled meeting, and it will be rescheduled after the reorg meeting on January 5th.
Okay, thank you. Dan, policies?
So, we did not receive the quarterly Strauss Esme update as expected, and so policy didn't meet on the 8th as planned. The next policy meeting is pending reorg.
Okay. Leo, negotiations?
We're continuing to communicate with the 3 unions. We have meetings set up with, each of them. Some are already set for January. So while our committee is pending reorganization, the meeting dates are set.
And you guys have been really busy too. Yes.
Yes, and thank you for mentioning that. I do want to thank, Michelle has been on our committee, as well as Ian and Kathy, and myself. We have 4 of us. And I do want to thank them. It is a committee that spends a lot of time at meetings and in preparation for meetings. So we've been preparing back since the spring. So I want to thank the 3 ladies for all the work they do and the time they spend. And when I send them a message and ask them to review something, I get feedback, and I appreciate that.
And could I just add one thing? We're very lucky to have Leo as our chairperson, as a negotiation. Yes, he does work us. He makes sure that you know that. But we're very lucky to have him as a chairperson. I think Kathy and Michelle would agree with me.
Thank you. Okay, and Kathy, sustainability?
Mine is more of a public service announcement. Just a reminder to everyone to try to keep your holiday lights on timers in order to conserve energy. And also to, stay safe. And also, I just wanted to wish everybody a happy, healthy holiday season, a happy new year, and best wishes both to Michelle and Dan. We will definitely miss you.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, public comments? Do we have any public comments? Okay. We'll move on to action items then. Ed, would you like to move the finance resolution?
I'd like to move finance resolution 1 to 18.
Okay, for the second. Michelle? Okay, discussion? Questions?
Sorry. On number 9, I noticed the rejection of the bids with all the roofers, and I see the lower bidder withdrew their roof replacement bid. When will the next round of bids be happening for the roofs, I should say?
I think we're going to put it on the January board meeting for you to approve it going back out. That's right now what I'm thinking. We may, the project's also gonna change. We're only gonna go out for Franklin.
Okay.
We're not gonna do those other missing pieces, but I'll have more for you for next meeting, all right?
Thank you.
You got it.
Any other questions? Okay, roll call.
Mr. Bocchino,
Yes.
Mr. Botero,
Yes, all out of 5.
Mrs. Champagne,
Yes.
Mr. Copeland.
On the bills list, I recuse on PO number 23-2648. Yes to everything else.
Mrs. Calucci,
Yes.
Mrs. Danielson,
Yes.
Mr. Massey,
Yes.
Mrs. Purcell,
Yes.
Ms. Shannon,
Okay, on the bills list, I'm recusing on 5 POs, PO 23-2446, 23-2445, 23-8087, 23-2663, 23-2644. Yes on all the rest on the bills list, and then number 3, I'm recusing on number 17, Mr. Mason. Yes on all the rest of the travel requests, and yes on all the rest of the resolutions.
passes.
Okay, education, Joe, would you like to move the education resolution?
Certainly, before I move the motion, so I do have an addendum, so if everyone would look on page 10. So if you look on page 11, under 5, we're going to be adding subpart 10. For Roxbury High School, it's going to be January 10, 2023. This is a group of 6 student council students. They'll be traveling to Montville Township High School to attend a student council summit where they will be able to interact with other councils and gather ideas to better serve the Roxbury student body and community. We'll add that on. And then I would like to move education motions 1 through 9 as amended.
Okay, a second? Oh, Dan, okay. Okay, any discussion? Okay, roll call.
Mr. Bocchino,
Yes, as amended.
Mr. Botero,
Yes, all out of 5.
Mrs. Champagne,
Yes, as amended.
Mr. Copeland.
Work doesn't work, but
Yeah.
yes.
There we go. You too. You too made my son.
All right, sorry. Mr. Copeland.
Yes.
Yes. Mrs. Calucci,
Yes, as amended.
Mrs. Danielson,
Yes, as amended.
Mr. Massey,
Yes.
Mrs. Purcell,
Yes.
and Ms. Shannon.
Okay, on number 3, I'm recusing on 1. Yes on all the rest.
Passes.
Okay, Kathy, would you like to move the personnel resolutions?
I would like to move the, personnel resolutions 1 through 22.
I'll second Eddie, okay. Any discussion? Okay, roll call.
Mr. Bocchino,
Yes.
Mr. Botero,
Yes, all out of 5.
Mrs. Champagne,
Yes.
Mr. Copeland,
Yes.
Mrs. Calucci,
Yes.
Mrs. Danielson,
Yes.
Mr. Massey,
Yes.
Mrs. Purcell,
Yes.
Ms. Shannon.
Okay, on number 8, I'm recusing on subpart 3, Mr. Long, yes on all the rest.
Passes.
Okay, that's right, there's no executive, oh,
There is no executive.
no executive session, yeah. Okay, so, we're down to public comments on non-agenda items, we have no slips. Okay, board member comments, Michelle.
I wrote this down because I didn't think I'd get through it at the end, but, just want to say I've had an amazing time on the board, and I'll truly miss working with all of you. No one is more passionate than a parent wanting to do what's best for their child. I've also seen the dedication and hard work our teachers and staff have for the children of Roxbury. Congratulations to Mrs. McGregor and Mr. Mildy. You've been entrusted to represent all of the wonderful students and families of this great district. I believe you, like me 3 years ago, will soon discover the roles and responsibilities of a board member are much different and more extensive than what you might think they are. I know I did. It's a lot different when sitting on this side of the dais. Support your administration and bring the voices of all the community, not just the most vocal or politically inclined, to the table. Abide by the code of ethics and take the training offered by the New Jersey School Board Association. Congratulations again. One of my goals throughout my term was to give the community a better understanding of what the role of the school board is and isn't. I'd like to think I accomplished this with whoever would listen. I've met many smart, dedicated, and terrific people as a member of the community relations, finance, facilities, personnel, and especially the negotiations committee. With all due respect, I'm going to use first names: Loretta, Chuck, Joe, Kathy, Nathania, Lisa, Carol, Dan, Leo, Ann, Kathy, Heather, Joe, Eddie, and Brian. Thank you for your hard work and dedication. Believe it or not, I will miss the meetings. I mean, hardcore is Roxbury District, so great. Thank you again, and it has been my utmost pleasure and honor to serve on the board.
Thank you, Michelle. I almost didn't make it through what I was talking before.
Should I go?
Yeah.
Okay, so, actually, I'll bore you all to death, because mine's kind of long. So first of all, band though, because we gotta start with band. Band had concert this past, Wednesday evening, our high school concert. And, thank you, Ann, Leo, and Kathy for showing up to that. Maybe other people I didn't catch, but, it was a great concert. And then, the high school band also had their Holiday Pops event on Saturday, which Kathy was there again and brought her grandson to. That was a fantastic event. For both events, we raised sort of pantry goods for Roxbury Social Services. I just finished trucking over a whole carload of that this morning, so we did pretty well by them, I think. So thank you, board members, for continuing to go to these events and support the kids. It's really appreciated. Okay, so I first want to say thanks to all the great people that I've had the opportunity to work with and learn from. All of you, my fellow board members, Loretta, Chuck, Joe, Lisa, so many great admins, so many great teachers I've had the chance to work with. I've learned and continue to learn a great deal about public education. And I am very proud of what was accomplished and proud to have been part of it. I admit that I'm saddened by this outcome, but I do trust that our two new members will jump in and continue to move us forward in a direction that benefits every child. And I do wish them the best of luck in that endeavor. Before I leave, I'm going to stand on the bully pulpit and remind all of you of a few of my passions, just to leave you with. Number one, it's kind of clear to me that many residents don't understand exactly what a board does, how it operates, what it can and cannot do. And that's fair, right? Because most of us didn't really know before we started. But it is a problem because this lack of understanding and visibility about what we do is, to me, what breeds a bit of mistrust and speculation. When I first started, this was a bit of a sore point with me. I wanted better public communications, and I think we've come some way since then. In that time, we started audio recording these meetings and making them available publicly. We've started having informational meetings with PTOs and PTAs to try to build another bridge to our parents, in addition to things like the parent academies that we have. But we still need more discussion and real deliberation here in our public meetings, I think. There's too many things that go right from committee report to roll call vote. And the more we continue to foster real meaningful discussion about agenda topics here, the better for everyone. So I encourage my fellow board members to keep pushing, keep having meaningful discussions in public where we can all see the work. And so I'm going to be on the other side and watch. Number two, policy. I love policy because it's the one real thing a board has control over in shaping their district. We've just started recently the idea of a policy review cycle where, in addition to reviewing the updates that we get from Strauss-Esme, we want to keep a list of other policies to review and cycle through on our own. It hasn't really taken hold yet, and it's my hope that the next policy committee will really run with that idea. One of my thoughts here is that it's important to continually refresh and make sure that policies are aligned with our current vision. But the review process is also an opportunity for us, the board members, to get familiar with policies that we have. I mean, how many of us actually kick back at night and pull out the policy manual and read it at bedtime, right? So if policy is a primary domain of the board, we need to find ways to keep refreshing both the policies and refreshing ourselves with those policies. So number 3, our teachers. Teachers are the lifeblood of our district. They're not content deliverers. We talk about the importance of student agency, of our kids feeling that they have control of and they make decisions about their education. Well, they're not going to get that sense of agency if their teacher doesn't feel that they themselves have agency in what they do. I bring this up not because I think we're failing at it, but I think there's a bit of an undercurrent right now, all over the state, even all over the country, about not trusting our teachers, about scripting lesson plans, and I want to raise the point as a bit of a warning. Please continue to give our teachers what they need to do their jobs, to let them teach, and to model the agency that we want to see in our kids. Lastly, I'm proud of everything we've done on SEL and on addressing the whole child. It's still not enough, it'll never be enough. But please continue to think about an ideal that I've had, which is that every single child in our school district should be able to point to someone in the district, a teacher, a coach, a principal, someone in the main office. Every child should have someone that they feel they can talk to about anything. Someone who makes them feel heard, makes them feel worthwhile. I wish I had a specific proposal to offer on this. I don't. It's hard to measure, it's hard to implement, but I think it's important to keep it in mind. Everyone here, everyone who works in the district, works for every child. You did it to me, Michelle, thanks. But thank you all, thank you for everything, and I know I'll be seeing you all again soon and often.
Leo.
Well, first, thank you, Michelle and Dan. I enjoyed serving with the two of you, and happy that you've been on the board for these past 2 terms and 1 term. And I hope you're not strangers. You know, there's lots of seats out here if you ever want to come and visit. I could have sworn Dan was going to throw a pitch for the high school Wind, excuse my voice, Wind Symphony Honor. This was on our agenda tonight, so I'm already picking up on one of your ideas, Dan. We approved them going on a trip to Indiana end of March-ish. And what our band was selected, now Dan, he knows more about this than I do, but what I understand is that there's this national competition, presentation that the bands are invited to. And that's important, you're invited, you don't just show up. And it's usually the bigger schools. They decided to open it up to some smaller schools. 2 schools in the whole country were invited, ours and 1 from Texas. That's it. And so they, the process was very competitive. They had to do recordings of performances unedited, and they had to get recommendations from people outside the school who had witnessed our students performing. So it was really a high level of competition. So you really should be proud of our kids and congratulate them. But now they have to get there. And it's not going to be inexpensive. So they have a fundraiser that they have this on the stand going out, in the end. So nicely made a photograph of it and wrote some copies. So anybody that wants to scan the QR code it'll take you to their fundraiser site, and you can make a donation. So you can take one of these home. We won't embarrass anybody by making you stand there and do it right here. I really think the whole idea is, I don't know what it's gonna cost them, $40,000 probably, to $50,000 to go. And, so the hope is that the kids don't have to pay for it themselves, kids and the families, that the fundraiser will do it. And I just checked the site, this evening, and I think they're up to $11,000, so they've got a ways to go. So any help you can give, they appreciate it. So I'll tell you what, you don't have to send me a Christmas card. Make a donation instead of sending a Christmas card. And I don't have a kid or a grandkid in it. Dan's son is in it, an excellent performer. But anyway, support them.
Just one thing, so, thank you so much, Leo. And if anyone needs a link, you can always just email me and I can find it for you. But also be aware, another fundraiser coming up is a Tricky Tray. The band's gonna have a Tricky Tray on February 25th. So please come to that. There'll be plenty of goodies to auction off. And if anyone wants to make a donation to the Tricky Tray, of course, we're always looking for donations for baskets, so.
So I just want to address both Michelle and Dan. If I could have written either one of those beautiful letters that you wrote about them, I feel like I would have written something very similar to that. I'm gonna miss you guys very much. I think you have big shoes that need to be filled, and I can only hope that we can gel like we've gelled as a board all together. We have had our differences, and I think that's made us grow even more. I think we have to learn how to trust new people coming into our little group, and I hope that that is a very big part of being together and understanding what the rules are and our ethics that we have to follow, and I'm hoping that they can transition easily into our little group of people. I'm going to desperately miss both of you, and I'm very glad to have met you and learned how to actually be a board member. I appreciate both of you so much.
If anyone had the opportunity to attend that very cold tree lighting and Norland ceremony last Sunday, they were treated to the Roxbury Choir. My 5 and 7-year-old looked up at me and said, "Daddy, how can I sing like that one day?" So even at 5 and 7, and I'm not pushing music on all the kids, but you know, their opportunity, I mean, I said that's the high school choir, and they were very impressed by them too, so it's always good to have the young ones ready to go. Last month I was at a mandatory NJSBA training and was unable to attend our meeting, since I didn't have the opportunity publicly, although I reached out privately. I'd like to congratulate Chris and Sharon on the victories. I look forward to working with both of you and continue to get to know you. However, I do want to take this opportunity to thank Michelle and Dan for their dedication and service to this board. Michelle, I've had the pleasure of sitting next to you the past 2 years and working with you the past 3 years. You came right when the pandemic started. I believe we were discussing how to do graduation and the upcoming track construction, and then kaboom. However, you did not miss a beat, and you would have folded under that pressure, but you took it on, asked the hard questions, and always had our students' best interests at heart. You always did your homework, came prepared and ready to work. Your honesty and integrity shown all that you do. And I wish you well in your future endeavors, and I hope you keep in touch, and I hope to see you in your seats. Daniel, I've had the pleasure of working with you the past 5 years, but we never got to sit next to each other. I feel like we're separated because we talk too much. Jokes aside though, Dan, and I never told you this, when I was getting to know you my first year on the board, I would have bet the farm that you were an educator. Your knowledge of this field is truly remarkable for not having any formal training or experience. You rival many administrators I had come to know over my past 15 years in education. You always read over every single word of every piece of literature we get, so I argue against that you do read everything before bedtime. You ask the hard questions, you don't back down from what you believe in, even if we did disagree. We always discussed our differences, and we always came to an amicable conclusion. Your honesty and integrity show in everything that you do, and I'm truly glad that I made a lifelong friend of you, and I wish you well, and I know I'm gonna be seeing you in that front. To the rest of the board, happy Hanukkah, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and looking forward to getting back to work in January.
Okay. So I've been on this board for now 2 years. You know, not being part of this community, ironically enough, right, coming from Mount Owings, and there's one thing that I can honestly say about you, Michelle and Dan, is that you guys are community. You're everything what community stands for. Just not only your involvement, but your passion towards what we do here, the decisions we make. You know, I tip my hat to both of you guys. You definitely will be missed, and I think everyone's messages have been clear. So, you know, I hope I'm able to work with you guys again in some type of magnitude. So thank you for everything. Carol, thank you for all your support, right, as a leader for this board. So thank you, and then, you know, to all the families here, wishing everyone a happy holiday. Thank you.
I guess I could go now. First, Carol, I'd like to thank you for being the president. I know I gave you, sometimes I gave you a hard time, so I would like to thank you. Dan, I enjoyed working with you. You did teach me a lot of questions I had for you. You always helped me get through, especially when I was being a new board member, so thank you. Michelle, I've known Michelle for quite a few years. She's my neighbor. I see her every morning around 6 o'clock in the morning, walking her dog. We're involved with other organizations outside the board. Michelle, you're a dedicated person. You're very involved with the community. I love you. I love you. You're a great neighbor. I just love you. Working with you here on the board and on other organizations. And everybody have a nice holiday. Happy holidays.
So Carol, thank you for your stewardship. It's been, I know, a rough 3 years. And I don't think anybody would envy the position that you've had to be in, especially through COVID. So thank you for getting us through it. Michelle, you've been on the board 3 years, and somehow we've managed to not ever serve on the same committee. Having said that, well, you know, 1 year we sat next to each other, but you are not a loud person. And I think sometimes in not being loud, people might think that you can be overlooked, but anybody who listens to you sees the value that you add to everything. You are thoughtful, you are deliberative. We have definitely not voted the same way on a lot of things, but you put in the work. All the time you put in the work. And when you spoke, it wasn't to hear yourself speak, it was because you had something to offer. And it was always value added. So I thank you for your time. I thank you for your service. You will be greatly missed. I know I will find you off of here, you know, but thank you for all you've done. Dan?
Stop.
I'm not doing it. I've known you since before the board. Not well, but we sat here, park testing. I didn't know your name. You're just that guy that knew everything. You were very, very smart. You talked a lot. And then I got on the board, and you were, yeah, my opinion was completely unchanged. You were smart and you know a lot. And you're deliberative and you take the time to educate people, and you are never condescending or stingy with your time. You want to help grow people. You have vision. It's not just today, it's tomorrow. Everything that you mentioned, your pet projects, your vision for future, the fact that I know you're gonna be haunting us and probably, we're going to be able to say a whole lot more now that you're not sitting here. I think you will continue to keep us honest and to continue to ask hard questions and hold people accountable. And I appreciate that. I appreciate all that you've done with this board. What you said about social emotional learning, you've been that person for a lot of us. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Heather. And I guess, last, The one thing it takes, well, many things it takes to be a good board member, but it takes courage to be a good board member, an ethical board member. And, I mean, the code of ethics requires so much of us that the public just does not know. And one thing it does require is that we uphold the state regulations, the state laws, and the court orders. We are required under the code of ethics to do that. And so, you know, we are also required to take no private action, to make no promises to any groups of people, that we do not surrender our judgment to special interest or partisan groups. And that is also ethically required and statutorily required of us. And I have to commend, you know, sometimes when you vote on something and it's not popular with a small group of people in the public, and we get pressure and we're told, so break the law, overlook the law, you know, you can be creative, get around it. Code of ethics doesn't require us to do that. And these two board members, Michelle and Dan, had the courage to follow the code of ethics and to follow the law. And I have to commend them for their courage and their integrity, because it's not always an easy thing to do, but they always have done the right thing. They looked at everything, they asked a lot of questions, you know, Dan especially, but Michelle's quieter, but Dan especially, but they knew what their ethical obligations were, and they knew what they are required to do, and they were, I do commend them, because it's not always easy to do the right thing. That takes courage, and actually, and I hate to quote him, but former Vice President Pence actually in an interview recently had said it doesn't take courage to break the law, it takes courage to follow the law. So I want to thank both of you for your courage and your integrity in how you were deliberative and how you voted on things. You did the right thing. So thank you again, both so very much. Okay, I guess that's it. No other comment? Okay, motion for adjournment? Michelle? Okay, Dan? Okay. All in favor? Aye. Okay, happy holidays, everybody.